Vaishali Ghosh was raised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Vaishali Ghosh.
I think for me it would be a candle.
Wow.
Actually, I've got a candle in the room, and when you asked to look for a thing, the candle came into my mind because I feel
Mhm.
for any relationship there has to be light and warmth. So for me,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
candle is something you would light, and you would
Mhm,
spread
mhm.
that warmth and light uh, to give that relationship. I don't know. It's hard to explain it, but to bring basically warmth into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Right, right,
relationship,
right.
something like
We
that.
do, we do. I think we do relate, Devani. I think. Um,
Yes. I think it's also about feeling warmed in someone's presence and, like the safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so
Very
much for
nice.
sharing that. Vishali.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Suja Nandini has written, should always be mutual, like the way people and plants are interdependent. It involves both giving and taking without that much expectations. That's a great way to see it. That's
Yeah.
about how you exchange and reciprocate. I think that's very important in a relationship. Is something that she is mentioning. Great, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else who wants to like speak or um, how do they think?
Yeah. There is some. Teja. Teja wants to speak.
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think when I looked around, I found my spectacles, and I think I relate my spectacles to relationship, which is transparency, right?
Wow.
When there is transparency, I feel there is also communication. There is also genuineness. I feel it all comes into transparency.
Yeah.
So my spectacles. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great
Yeah.
way to
Very
put it.
beautiful.
I think it also symbolizes how you are able to see things more clearly and transparency and how it just brings things into perspective.
Closer.
I
Yeah.
think
Mm,
Bring things into more
yeah,
perspective. Bring it very close. Yeah.
yeah. Agree. Yeah.
thank you,
Priyanka
Teja.
is typing. Like for me, it's sorry. Where is Priyanka? For me, water because it should be free to flow. If obstructed, is stink. Similarly, everyone should be free to flow. If attached too hard to get, it gets spoiled. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
true.
talk about it today, Priyanka. Very, very in like um in relation to what we're trying
Interrupt.
to talk about. Yeah, but we do understand where this coming from. The attached part that also came up somewhere upper also.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it should be like water free to flow.
nice, really nice. That like you're thinking on those lines is also reflecting that how we are connecting to different symbols, and we know the pros and the cons, and that what should be done at times and what shouldn't be. It's also very important when you symbolize
Right.
something with love. So I think yeah, it's really nice.
Anybody else who wants to share their thoughts about it? No? Okay. Then we'll go ahead with the next slide and the next question. Okay. Share the first thought that comes to your mind when you think about a relationship. Think about relationship, not a relationship, sorry, but relationship. So something that pops up for me is I think trust.
Yeah, and I think it's bonding that pops up immediately when I see relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are
Wow.
so many. Respect, trust. Oh wow, trust. Yeah, trust, respect,
Wow.
balance. Yes, I think it's very
Yes.
much required.
Understanding.
Honesty. Yeah, I guess growth is a very good point because a lot of times in relationship we, like at times we tend to forget because we're so much emotional into it. Like we forget about the growth, the self growth, the relationship growth that it requires for two individual to be together, like for a longer term or even in the time being there together. Growth is something that I think we should not ever overlook. or else it's going to be
Right,
problematic in the
right,
long
right.
term. Yeah, yeah. Communication,
Like,
yes. Patience,
support
great.
has been mutual respect,
Yes.
mm, patience, mutual understanding,
Empathy,
mm,
space.
great, great. I think it involves these other terms. These are the terms that are very important in any relationship. As we
Courage.
said,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, courage. Wow. Courage. Okay.
Compa-
Asila, would you like to tell us why you think courage comes to your mind when you think about a relationship?
So when I think about a relationship, it
Mhm.
basically means the vulnerability. Being
Yeah.
in a relationship is very difficult, and it does comes with its positive effects,
Mhm.
its perks, but we don't talk enough about the vulnerability that one person faces when you are getting into relationship with someone new, because we don't try to understand them. There's going to be a whole lot of different concerns that is going to
Mhm.
come in our life. So having the
Right.
courage, to be vulnerable, to
Open
be
up.
supportive,
Yeah,
Yes.
having the courage to accept the change is very important.
that's great. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
that.
It's a
you.
very good insight. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
No, this is Atri this side.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Hi,
go ahead.
Anushka. Hi, Devjani. Yeah. So
Hi.
for me, I guess emotional intimacy matters a lot. When I say emotional intimacy, I mean, to going on the lines of vulnerability, where you can be vulnerable with someone, and not just romantically, but, maybe with your parents, your friends, you can be open. There's a certain amount of openness. And also
Mhm.
there's like a feeling where you can be yourself,
Yeah.
where you're heard, where you're respected. I think that is something which for me is very first essential of building a good relationship.
Yeah, I
Right.
guess, I can instantly connect this to the like how water was connected to love. Like when I asked, like,
Yeah.
like free flowing, respected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what Shuja Nandini talked about, right? How
Yeah,
it should
yeah,
be
yeah,
free
yeah.
flow,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
without restrictions or without those things holding you back.
Yes, yes.
Being
Right.
able to open up. Yeah.
Yeah, and even the feeling of being held while in a conversations, it matters a lot, and I guess goes a long way.
Right. Thank you
Very
for
true.
sharing that.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Anybody else?
yeah, anybody else? No, I guess. We can move
Okay.
ahead.
Vaishali has raised her hand.
Yeah, Vaishali, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just uh, thinking about something for the last question. I think
Mm-hmm.
you need to have something common for any relationship with a friend, or so some common interests or something which you share that is unique to your relationship. What do you
Yeah.
think? It makes sense?
I think
It
it
does.
does. It does because having that uniqueness also brings you closer. I think it's something that
Yeah.
you can
I think
you
it
can
helps
open
in
up.
creating that compatibility between two. Like if you have things in common, I think it helps you to be compatible to each other, or it helps in building that compatibility
Yeah.
between two people. Because, if things are not common, at times people just fall out or can't, like,
Right.
don't understand. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
that,
you. Thank
Vishal.
you.
I think we have a response in the chat box regarding something.
Yeah.
You always need someone to listen to you and as well as um, correct you wherever you need. Hmm. Is it regarding the new question that we posed, guys? Okay, okay. I think it is regarding the. So, what we wanted to ask you is what, according to you, why, according to you, it is important to form and maintain a relationship for you? This is very subjective. There's no right and wrong answer. But why do you think it is important for you to form?
Like the reasons.
Yeah. For you, which is subjective again.
Yeah, absolutely subjective. Like you can answer it in any way you want. So yeah.
Because we all deserve to be seen and loved for who we are. Greatly put. Thank you, Sujanandini. There's no right and wrong answer. We're not looking for any particular answer, but just an understanding of what you think is important for you to form and maintain a relationship. Viva says need for connection. Okay. Kavisha yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I guess for me, it is two experience things, be it the good and be it the bad. Like, to on the lines of experiencing good things, you might feel loved, you might feel, heard, and different things of that sort. But I think it's also essential to for some relationships to go not well, so that we have that experience and we can experience like the other side of it, right?
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Well put.
Thank you, Saya.
We have some more responses. Sense of belongingness, safety,
Belongingness.
security, help to grow, learn some skills.
For a
Okay.
holding. Okay.
Rinki, would you like to tell us what does that mean for a holding?
Uh, Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you're
Tell
audible.
tell us.
Uh, for me, actually, like in our childhood or in our early days, we have a caregiver like our moms who took care of ourselves. But with time, we all grow up and we need someone who can hold us, who can be someone like her, where we can be relied. Uh, so I think our holding is also needed for and mean for a relationship where we can be like the same which we want. Thank you.
Like you can, what do you mean? Like, just being like getting a space where you can reflect yourself and
Yeah,
feel
totally.
connected,
Feel safe, feel like
safe. Yes, yes. Secure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
We have some more answers, I think. Support, security, mental stability.
Yeah.
To boost our happiness and reduce stress. Of course, sharing relationships are imperative for many different reasons, such as, emotional well being, or creating stability, or learning how to be a good friend or a mate, or a good daughter or a good companion for someone, not necessarily a romantic one, but having someone to count on and trust in terms of need, and someone to vent when we face challenges, or um, just having that social belongingness in terms of relationship makes us feel included in. There's each of these relationships have different responses. It helps us to grow and learn about ourselves. That some people also talked about, I think Madhurima mentioned about growing and learning. And relationships are oftentimes also the glue that hold us together during times of stressful situations and when we face life difficult situations. Without relationships, I think we would have a deadened spirit and a lack of connection to our true selves, because relationships we hold are also mirror to a lot of things, positives and the negatives. So it's great that you are so insightful about why is it that you need to form relationships and maintain them. You have
Yeah.
you all have great insight about why it is important for you. It's different for different people. The reasons could be different, but as we talked about, it's great that you could share that insightful responses. Anybody else who would like to share why it is important for you to form and maintain a relationship?
You can even now unmute and speak. Vaishali. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I
Vishali.
think important to have someone to share both good
Yeah.
and bad things, happiness and sadness. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we didn't have any relationships, no friends, or no like romantic, or if we didn't have any relationships, how would we also experience our happiness, you know? So I
Yeah,
think
Right.
yeah.
for
Very
both the
true.
good and the bad to
Very
Right.
true.
share. Yeah.
It's very true. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I think
You know,
sharing is very important because, to create space where you can share your daily things to someone and feel safe about it. So I guess, yeah,
right.
yeah,
To understand ourselves better. Exactly,
yeah,
Sujan. And
yeah,
then that's what we were talking about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think Vaishali also wanted to talk about is, coming much more closer to oneself through the relationships that we are engaged in. Because it's a way of how to, show us how to love and to
Yeah, and
how to love and to be loved, I think.
yes, 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 I agree to you, Anushka. And also, what I feel like, it contributes to the overall well being, the development of, or sorry, the feeling of the well being that, okay, I am with someone. I know there is someone out there to whom
Right.
I can go, and somewhere and somehow there is a process of reflection that is continuously happening with that person or a group of very close people. So I think that is very important. Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you for sharing that, guys. Devjani, would you like to? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so what we want to ask you right now is like, like we see that there are different form of relationships or types of relationship, whether it can be friendship or it can be amongst your kinship or different kind of, probably at times, we meet unknown people and we form a certain kind of a sense of belongingness. So, like, is there any kind of such relationship that you want to talk about or you cherish the most? And it reminds you even today that, oh, yes, there was a point of time, or it's even there present in your life right now. Something, some form, any form of a relationship that you still cherish. So, like, if anyone of you want to tell something on that, friendship,
Okay. My mother and my daughters. Nice, Priyanka. Thank you. Friendship.
friendship, friends. I think friendship is a very common answer that we're getting. One with my mother. Okay. Anyone who wants to unmute and speak, like something on which you still cherish
I think my
the
school
relation.
friends, I think the
Yeah.
friendship that I have in school, I had in school,
Okay.
like I think those were the best,
Days.
um, yeah, best days. I think I check whenever I'm a little like upset, but I remember those days. I just talk to them about those incidents where we used to, bunk
Yeah.
classes or something, go to have imli or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Priyanka, go ahead.
Priyanka, go
Lovely.
ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Uh, since childhood, I didn't have many friends. So my best friend was my mother at that time. And
Okay.
since the moment I got married, I felt left out. That I felt that no one is there to get mingled with me. I couldn't share anything with someone. But since my daughters are born, now they are my best friend, they are my best partners. So I share each and everything, whether be it physical or emotional, I share with them, and I cherish
Great.
that relationship the best ever. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, for
That's
sharing this.
really nice to hear.
Yeah,
So,
even with my mother, I think we all can relate having that kind of a relationship with
very true.
the mother. We would also we would like a relationship where our mothers are our best friends. For me, it was very much the case. My mother is my best friend. She is always the biggest supporter, biggest cheerleader that I can have. You know,
That's very nice to
I'm
hear.
so grateful for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Shilpa,
I
do you
guess,
want to say something?
Shilpa, yeah. Shilpa,
Viewer,
you want to speak?
I guess they muted themselves by
Okay,
mistake.
that's fine. Okay, so I guess there is a comment there by Suja Nandini. Like for me, it's those relationships that are able to overcome conflicts, ego, and are ready to forgive. Okay.
That's a great way to put it. Thank you, Suja.
Yeah,
Any
Suja, you want to
particular,
speak on this? Something?
uh,
Ma'am, hi.
Yeah.
hello.
Actually, we share a lot of relationships with teachers, parents, and friendships throughout our life. But in some cases, because of the conflict or some kind of misunderstanding, we tend to give up on the relationship itself. Just that communication or ready to forgive that, ready to understand that people do make mistakes. We are here to forgive each other. Ready to ask sorry first when you're wrong. Ready to forgive when someone asks
Yeah, yeah.
sorry.
Mhm.
Those relationships that requires a lot of vulnerability to ask sorry and be ready to forgive. So I think those relationships are very, very important, irrespective of whether it's a mother daughter, mother son, or friends. That I think that's what sustains the relationship, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's a very beautiful insight, I feel. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody wants to speak? Write something?
What
Hi,
about you, Dibjani? Yeah, yeah.
I know.
It's good, Nandini.
This is Nandini.
Yeah, yeah. Nandini, speak.
The one relationship that I cherish a lot is my friends and my
Mm-hmm.
family. On and a lighter note, it would also be my first crush.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
That's something that I still cherish till now.
That's great.
I guess for me also, like, I think for me also it's like friendship, especially, like, younger times in schools and neighbors. With me also, neighborhood works really nice. So I think I got connected with a
Hmm.
lot of people back then, and we used to have a lot of fun. I think those kind of a thing, I don't think it comes back. So after life gets so busy, so I think that is the time I cherish the most with family and friends when I was a little girl. So yeah.
Exactly. So we did talk about, why is it this particular that you cherish a lot? For me, because I really relate to those school days and the innocence that we had, and the less tension about this world and everything,
Yeah.
and the
I
complications that you have to deal with as an adult.
I
I
also
feel.
believe that, the trust, like, we don't understand a lot of emotions. Like, we are what we are. Like the fear, or we don't,
Exactly.
yeah, we don't even think like, oh, I have to, like, should I not? Or it's
Yeah.
like very carefree, like how childhood is supposed to be. That is something that is like, I think I cherish that. Like, I don't have to think before I go and approach someone to be friends or to make friends. So I think that is
Exactly.
very important. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think we both relate on those terms.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
what about you guys? With my brother, uh,
Mahima, with my brother, as we are growing old and having more experiences, the bond is strengthening. Yeah, I think sibling relationship. I think Anushka can speak on that. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
think me and my brother, we have an 8-year difference.
Wow.
Before it was a little difficult to connect because he was so small and young, and I was
Yeah,
having those experiences of the teenage experiences, crushes and everything, Nandini, as I can relate. But he was so small. What would I share with him? How would he connect to me? But now he's in ninth, and now I'm in, masters. So we
masters.
are able to connect better. He's having those teenage experiences where we can connect and share, and he finds confidence in me. So of course, Naima, I think we can relate regarding how it's a dynamic relationship between a sibling and you. It basically
Mm-hmm.
gets strengthened with the more experiences that you have, and the bonding gets stronger. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Ritika, I feel like that friend of mine understands me and shares similar traits as me, so that bonding is smooth and feels easy. You feel like understood. Is it that something that you want to say, Kritika? Do you want to unmute and speak about it? Soda?
Yes, I feel very understood. Like when I'm with that person, it just feels very easy compared to the other relationships that I have in my life. So
Right.
that relationship really stands out for me, and it will always have a special place in my heart wherever it goes.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. So basically, what we understood, with all of the answers that we had today was, why is it important? Okay, Gargi has written something. I think sibling relationships also eventually become worse than they were when they were children. Yeah, it can happen both ways. It's totally, possible if you were close and then situations are different. Yeah, yeah, Gargi, go ahead. Please speak up.
Kargis?
Gargi, you can
Yeah,
you can unmute.
I
Yeah,
think.
hello.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah,
am
yeah,
I
yeah.
audible? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You are
Uh, ac-
audible.
yeah, actually, me and my brother, we have a 12 years difference. So, by the time I grew up, he was getting married and having a family. So, like, I understood that the bonding we had when we were a child, and then when I grew up, when I was a teenager, he was already married and then he was having a family. So it became worse, and we have become quite distant now. But we had a great relationship when we were children. So that's what I feel.
No, that's absolutely something that was insightful. Thank you for sharing. Because even though there are a lot of times when we see the perspective from a very single side, कि हो सकता है अच्छा ही हो, or we try to generalize it. But thank you for bringing that opinion. कि हो सकता है ना भी हो. It is
Yeah, yeah.
also possible that you don't come close. It is also possible that you become distant. So of course, relationships are, how would I say, they require
Based on
a lot of,
possibilities, also, I feel somehow
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah, a lot of other things play a role, and it's not always in your control because there are a lot of other uh, s- there are a lot of other things controlling a relationship because it's two-sided, right? There are two people involved. So thank you for bringing that up, Vargi. Um, so basically, what I wanted to bring a little bit of attention to with those questions, everything, is this question. You can answer and then we can talk about a little. Attachment through life is how we were treated in childhood, or how we formed attachment in childhood, and the adult attachment that we make today in the present time. Very similar. What do you think? What do you have thoughts about, about this particular thing? The attachment that we create, is it the same or does it differ, or what do you think about it?
like does it change when you start growing up, or it remains same? Something on this line. Okay. Kausha Mehta. Yeah, Kausha, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Hello, ma'am. So,
Hello.
like, in my perspective, I would say that when we don't have good attachments developed in childhood, we develop certain beliefs, and
Mhm.
ultimately, those beliefs start affecting our relationships later in adult life. So, even a small thing can trigger a particular, it can trigger that belief which we are carrying for a very long period of time.
Right, right. That's insightful. Thank you. So you are mentioning, Kausha, that somehow the relationships that we have in the childhood and the beliefs that we hold go on
Yeah.
later in life and influence the kind of relationship we form now,
Yeah.
right?
And sometimes I feel that these are unconscious, which we are not very aware of. But then when we face those
Yeah, yeah.
challenges in relationship, those things come up later.
Right, right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kausha. So,
Welcome.
Chandani, you want to go ahead, say something?
Yeah, ma'am, I agree with the last speaker. I think early attachments do influence our the kind of relationships we form in adulthood, because in childhood, based on how strong the attachment is or how strongly we are molded into, I think that's what we think it is right. For example, if we are beaten as a child and we hear that this is only for our good, this is only for our own best, and be the good person we are, then even as an adult, when we experience domestic violence or when we just experience some kind of unhealthy practice from our partner, we think, okay, this is just for our good, they're just doing it for our sake, they're just controlling our life for our sake, so we think that is the normal. So we always fall into the same trap, choosing the same kind of person again and again, because that's what is taught to us as normal and healthy. So I think early attachments and how we are treated in early life do influence what we see as unhealthy or healthy in our adulthood.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Those boundaries of what's healthy and what's unhealthy becomes very much influenced by your childhood experiences of attachment. Right, Sujan? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay.
Also, teaching something unhealthy through the lens of something healthy, like doing something wrong and saying that
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
for our own good. That
Right.
causes more harm.
I think also it
Right.
cripples our personality to some extent, like our attachments. Like
Right.
if we just like can't like don't understand or can't differentiate between right and wrong, so it's quite effective towards our own personalities also.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Suja. Um, Kritika has written, I think we make up for the early attachments in our
No,
adult
attachment.
relationships. Hmm. That's something we will be talking about in the training workshops, trying to fill that need that wasn't fulfilled. Um, and early attachments are not complicated, in my opinion, um, whereas adult attachments require more effort and is a bit more complicated. Okay. Priyanka has written, I think attachment styles continue in adult life, especially if the attachments are not built right. Yeah. So basically, we did get an understanding. Majority of people have talked about, yes, they do, influence the relationships that we have today. Um, but before we talk about it, I would just like to say a little about it. So before we start blaming relationships problems, on our parents, because that's something I think a lot of us do, it is important to know that, attachment styles from during childhood, early childhood, not necessarily very identical to the ones demonstrated in romantic relationships that we always tend to do. So because a great deal of time has elapsed between infancy and adulthood, so intervening experiences also play a large role in adult attachment styles. Your teenage relationships that you might have had, your crushes, or could also be something that influences you a lot in having the kind of attachment style that goes on to become your attachment style when you're like, maybe 25, 26. It's not necessarily always family. Um, it's also possible. So when we will be discussing about attachment styles, there are 4 types of attachment styles that we will be discussing about. So people who are very ambivalent or avoidant during childhood can become very securely attached as adults. It's not important that insecure attachment hai to baad mein bhi insecure ही attachment होगा. So because basic temperament is also a very big part to play a
Yeah,
partial
yeah.
role
I think
in
it's
that.
wired somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
temperament is very important. So
yeah, yeah.
because there was a study I found about divorce and parental discord play basically. So children who had like divorced parents or there was some kind of discord between the parents, did they have problems in formation of their attachment styles, which seemed unrelated. So when they actually correlated those two variables and tried to find out if there is any kind of does it predict any
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of attachment issues, it did not. um so it's a generalization, but of course we wouldn't like say कि koi bhi there's no effect of what happened in the childhood with your attachment, because there's the first attachment that you create is with your parents. So it's but you can't really generalize these things because, of course, it's subjective and experiences play a major role. Temperament plays a major role. While we cannot say that early attachments are identical to adult romantic relation attachment, but research has shown that early attachment styles can help predict patterns
Predict.
of behavior.
Yeah.
So behavior patterns can be predicted, but you can't say it's going to be always identical. So yeah, Audrey, go ahead.
I
You want to
think
speak?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Following that, what I was thinking is that I think this is the part where an individual's role comes in to unlearn the things he or she has been through, right? So maybe a person who had a very bad childhood can maybe unlearn the things which is making that person act in a certain way, which we name it as insecurely, right?
Yeah. Anushka, unmute.
Sorry. Thank you for sharing that, Audrey. I think unlearning and learning is a process.
Unmute, Anushka.
I don't know why it's happening again and again. Sorry.
Yeah, fine.
Thank you for sharing that. Basically, understanding or learning and learning in a attachment pattern or an attachment style is something that very could be very insightful. So we will of course be dwelling into that. Yeah, Vaishali, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something to follow on from what Otri said. Um, I think as psychology students or as counselors or professionals, possibly it's easy to say that it's unlearn our attachment style. But do you not think that a lot of it happens subconsciously or unconsciously? So somebody
Yeah,
who comes,
awareness.
somebody who presents a pattern of attachment which they're repeating, uh, it might be quite difficult for them to unlearn it or not. I don't know. I'm curious about that.
Of course.
It
So
makes
Vaishali,
sense.
Yeah.
Does
Okay.
make sense.
yeah,
It makes
makes
sense. I
sense.
think.
Awareness is very important for you to. I think awareness that there is this thing existing. That's how I am attaching myself. Um, yes,
I think
direction.
Darkakshan. Yeah,
Direction.
direction.
Hello,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, this regarding this unlearn thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I myself have been through this thing. And I have had the physical punishment issues with my parents. They were always very strict in punishing and everything. And I have somehow developed the borderline traits, not the pure borderline, but the traits. So I think it took me whole my age to try to unlearn the things. Finally, I can say that I'm here, but it was really difficult during the adolescent period and the like the early 20s, 20, 21, 22, and 23. So after that, I am here on the point where I'm able to understand them. That is why. So I think it is important to that we can only unlearn those things when you know we are able to forgive them only when we understand their situation. Ki, acha, they did this because of me, they did this because of this thing, there were reasons they had. So और मुझे लगता है कि ये तभी होगा when we reach that maturity level.
Yeah. I think maturity.
I
Probably
think. Yeah.
realization, self-realization, which might build us to the place where it can be, understand or deal with it with maturity, might help. Yeah.
Perspectives, yeah. Perspectives are good. Thank you,
Yeah.
Darshan, for sharing that. But to also understand if you are trying to rationalize what has happened, or is it really bringing you peace or something important? The perspective that you're having is important. There's a very thin line of understanding physical punishment in a way, certain perspectives that you come across. So maybe delve into that. And thank you for sharing that, though. Actually, it
Yeah. It's very insightful. Yeah.
Yeah, it must have taken a lot of courage to share that with so many people. Thank you for sharing that and your experience and your journey. We can surely try and understand and relate. Um, so basically, what we were talking about was unlearning and learning. That's something that came up, and though it's one way to look about it, only it can only be effectful or effective if you have an understanding or awareness that this actually exists. You know, this is an issue. I had this attachment due to this, and connecting the dots basically
Yeah,
is
yeah, very
something
true.
important. If you lack an awareness about that, it will not be very how would I
I think
say,
it will
not
make you feel even more, like trapped
yeah,
into the
yeah,
situation or wired. You feel like it's just the way, like, life is going, or
right.
broken parts of yours is like still in the same place. So I think awareness is very important in every way possible. And I think that's one of the most beautiful or important ways where we can, help ourselves to come out of,
Bring more self-awareness, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
introspection,
self-awareness. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
introspection and a little bit of self-reflection on
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
regular basis. Not, I wouldn't say daily, because it's something that not most of us can do.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
basically, yeah, sometimes we are aware of it, but we aren't able to unlearn it. That brings in more anxiety. That's where professional help comes into place. So, counseling or therapy could be very helpful for understanding how relationships were or patterns of relationship that affect you now, attachments. If it's something that you're not able to do yourself, um, you can always seek help. Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, what we wanted to understand was, how uh, do they matter or do they don't matter? And we did talk about it. While we cannot say that they are identical, both of the attachments, they can help predict patterns of behavior in the adulthood. They can help us predict what happens and how we react in relationships. So, attachment style. So, there's this uh, psychologist. I don't know if you guys have heard her name, Mary Ainsworth, and there was another psychologist called Bowlby, and Mary Ainsworth basically further extended, on
Yeah,
Bowlby's
this one.
groundbreaking work in her now famous strange situation study. So she did the study observing children between the age 12 to 18 years old, 12 to 18 months, um, and responding to a situation where they were briefly left alone, and they were reunited with their mother after they were left alone. So basically, they had this sequence where the parent or child alone in a room, and the child explores the room with parental supervision. The parent is still there. Then the stranger enters the room, talks to the parent, and approaches the child. The parent quietly, leaves the room, and the parent returns and comforts the children. So, however, the child reacted based on these observations, Ainsworth, concluded that there were three major styles of attachment, which is secure attachment, ambivalent insecure attachment, avoidant insecure attachment.
And
Then,
disorganized.
yeah,
The last one is
then,
disorganized or
yeah,
insecure.
yeah, that is by Main and Solomon. They are two other psychologists who added the fourth attachment style known as the disorganized insecure attachment. And these attachment patterns in the childhood can help predict behaviors later in life, but not necessarily, you know, tell you that this is how it will be. So, Jenny, do you want to introduce the attachments?
Yeah, I mean, as we can say, like, see that the first one is like the secure attachment, and Anushka already briefed you about the history of, how where from we're getting this attachment style. So, I would just like to tell you something about the secure attachment, where we can, like, see that this is a place where a person is very comfortable, okay, in sharing other feelings. And no, there is a feeling of a safe space. They feel like they can be in a very balanced relationship. And they know that, forming relationship to with someone else can fetch them or help them to reflect themselves, and give them the space where they can share things with each other, and they can feel comfortable with each other. So there is a sense of belongingness. So this is a part where secure attachments work. Anyone?
Also,
Yeah.
so what happened in the experiment with Ainsworth was children who had secure attachment were very visibly upset as soon as the parent left. Okay, the caregiver or the parent left, and when they returned, they were very happy. So whenever they are very, they were very scared or frightened, they would like to seek comfort from the caregiver or parent. And if any contact is initiated by the parent, they readily accept. Uh, they readily accept that by the parent. They greet the parent in return with positive behavior when the parent shows some positive behavior. While these children can be comforted, to some extent by other people in the absence of a parent or a caregiver, they clearly prefer parents to strangers. And parents who are securely attached tend to play more with their children, and additionally these parents react more quickly to their children's needs and are generally more responsive to their children than of insecure attachment styles. So, and later on in their childhood they become more empathetic. That researchers have shown what kind of temperament they go on to have. They are very less disruptive, they are less aggressive, more mature than children with ambivalent or avoidant attachment styles. So, as adults, they have trusting, lasting relationships, tend to have good self-esteem, um, and they share feelings with their partners and friends rather than keeping it in. And they seek out social support. Is also very, uh, you know, um, how would I say, highlighting of how they want to become their adults. So yeah. Then we have
We have ambivalent,
ambivalent.
insecure attachment. Yeah, yeah. So here we see that the major, characteristic of this attachment is this person feels very insecure, like it's a anxious attachment. So here, anxiety and anxiousness in children will work more
Mm-hmm.
in terms of their connection with the caregivers.
Mm-hmm. And
Yes.
these children display considerable distress. Okay, so as soon
Yeah,
as they're
yeah.
separated from the parent or caregiver, but do not seem reassured or comforted by the return of their parents. So even if the parent is returning, they don't are not very reassured. In some cases, the children might passively reject the parent by refusing comfort. They also might show very direct aggression towards the parent. They might just try to fight it off. So that has been there. So they're very wary of strangers. They don't like strangers, become very greatly distressed when parents leave or something, and they do not get comforted when parents come back. That's how they are as children. But they go on to become, as adults, they go on to become very close to others. Okay, reluctant to become close to others. They're very reluctant. Okay, worry that the partner does not love them. So a lot of self doubt is there, and become very distort when
Yeah,
relationships
they
end.
become very distorted, and also like, it's difficult for them to form any kind of a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And they also, like, because there is a constant anxiety working, like very anxious, so they don't know, like, they become overtly needy at times. In terms of when they try to form a relationship with their partner, they always think, whether in the absence of the partner, that is also something that makes them think whether, this partner is there for them or not, and
Right.
what is gonna happen. So this
They
anxious
don't,
feel,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
they
this
don't
is
feel like they're being
they're
reciprocated
safe.
in
Yeah,
that.
basically you can say that they won't ever feel like, okay, they are safe. Probably the absence of a partner for very, like rational or very specific reasons also might cause a lot of, as Anushka
Distress.
mentioned, disruptions and distortions, which is already, operating because of the attachment style that is formed.
Yeah, they might also. So Suja has written they might also break the relationship before the other person
Yeah,
breaks
yeah,
because they don't want to feel rejected. Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
they don't feel like they are being reciprocated about their feelings, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
They
so
don't
like
feel also like,
yeah,
like the need of someone hearing them in a relationship, or their need that this person has to be constantly present. If that misses out on genuine grounds also, this attachment style leads to separation instantly, or
yeah,
quite a time with the repetitive events or incidents happening. So yeah,
yeah. Also, this leads to quite a lot of frequent breakups, often yeah, possessiveness.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, reciprocation and insecurity also
Yes, yes,
plays a
yes.
very important role. That's ambivalent insecure attachment, guys.
Yeah, the
Then
next one is avoidant insecure, which is basically and typically deals with the child developing this kind of an attachment when they don't receive the care, the attention from their immediate caregivers, like
mhm.
probably from their absent parents who couldn't be with them, and was not emotionally available to a child during their stage or age of development. And this leads to the fact that where I think the child is extremely disconnected, and also like emotionally I don't think they feel safe to form relationship when
Mhm.
they start growing up. So yeah, yeah,
So exactly. So in the experiment, what they did is they avoided their parents. They did not seek much contact or comfort from
yeah, yeah,
parents. They show little or no preference for parents over strangers. So these children might not reject attention from a parent, but neither do they seek comfort or contact. Is something that happens. So children with avoidant attachment show no preference, basically, if we have to put it that way. And
yeah,
the
yeah,
avoidance of becomes especially pronounced after a period of absence, as Devjani mentioned. If there has been absence in terms of absent parents or caregivers, they will become more pronounced for them. So as adults, they will have problems with intimacy, or they invest very little emotion in social and romantic relationships. They're very unwilling to share thoughts or feelings with others. They're very careful about that. And they also feel very distressed when only very little distress when a relationship ends. So and they avoid intimacy a lot
yeah,
as
I
a
think because I think they're emotionally they are very distant from form, like whenever they form a relationship.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And um so yeah, so basically they do not support their partners during stressful times. They try to escape from that
yeah, yeah,
because they are themselves unable to share their feelings, thoughts and emotions with their partners. Suja has written, I think this attachment style can also lead to overcompensation of becoming independent, portray themselves as not wanting a relationship. Of course, that can be a surface thing, Suja, but it's not something that we can generalize, though. Could be a reason, but then it's different for different people. Ambivalent, difference between ambivalent and avoidant insecure. Okay, Kritika. Kosha, yeah.
Kosha, yeah, Kosha speak, yeah.
So, ma'am, usually people who have this avoidance style, they will have problems with showing their vulnerabilities in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
they would not want to show themselves as weak, or they won't seek help when they wish to.
They won't even
I
try to show themselves as strong, even if they
yeah,
are.
yeah. The thing
Yeah.
is, it's yeah, exactly what Anushka tried to say. That like they're so emotionally attached. Like it's not about like they want to prove that hey, I'm the one who can do everything. They don't. I don't think they care enough to do that also.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they're not very open about how they feel, or the feeling could be they're very upset or they're very happy or anything they're feeling, but they're not very open about it. They don't want to share it with someone else because they think if they did not get that from their parents,
Hmm.
nobody else they'll be able to understand
So they will
in their
have problems with showing their emotions also.
Yeah, I think it's that
any
the
kind of
lack of emotional vulnerability in any form of relationship they try to, patch into or come into. It's always
yeah.
gonna be a problem. So yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Kritika, yeah, thank you, Kausha.
Could you elaborate?
Kritika, difference between ambivalent insecure and avoidant attachment is basically ambivalent. They um, they are reluctant to become close to, and they will try to give in as much as they can. They will share. There's a aspect of sharing as well, but they don't feel they're reciprocated. Reciprocation is a very big thing here for them. ठीक है, reciprocation होना चाहिए उनके लिए. They feel they're very worried about
I would say
that.
they feel very needy. Needy is the
Exactly.
word. Yeah, yeah.
They will try to attach themselves to that person very hard as
Easily. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and they will also, so just remember the word reciprocate, and they're very reluctant to become close to others, but when they do, they are very as Divyani said, needy or clingy, or would like that assurance all the time. ठीक है. Vulnerable, Priyanka, ambivalent will be more vulnerable than the avoidant because avoidant do not want to share. So the one difference that you can always remember with the avoidant is they will not want to share things, and they will be the most how would I say, no feelings, and no feelings ka label. You know, I don't get affected wala label
Yeah.
will be there. I don't get affected and it doesn't bother me, or there even if it
Like,
does, it's something that they
yeah.
would not like to share.
Like we can actually talk about example, like suppose in a relationship and husband and a wife, and probably the husband is having the avoidant insecure attachment style. We can assume like if the wife is going through some emotional problem, probably in relation to her family or relation to herself, and even if she's trying to express or she's expressing to the husband's reaction to her remains probably like okay, deal
Mhm.
with it, or quite a time probably the husband is quite ignorant, like doesn't take the
Yeah.
problem, the emotional problem into consideration, because for
They're
him
very
himself
support.
to be emotionally vulnerable is very difficult, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So hence the less understanding of emotional vulnerability leads them
Mhm.
to be not supportive to their partners.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then it becomes really difficult for them to, Yeah, Priyanka, go ahead. You want to say something?
I just now discovered that I have that ambivalent insecure attachment style since childhood, and very well you explained, Dave Jenny, because my husband is avoidant insecure. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to know that as kids, what are the qualities of ambivalent insecure? Because I think I missed out there something. I just Can you please elaborate a little more
Yeah.
on that?
Ambivalent, insecure, basically, they are reluctant to become close to others. But once they do become close to others, they feel like they need uh, like a regular reassurance from their partner or any relationship, not only their partner, but from their parents, their children, whatever in relationship, whatever in friendships, and worry that the other person does not love them back, or does not think they are important enough, and they're very distorted when relationships end. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the main key points of
Yeah, I
ambivalence.
think just like they can't just let go of someone with whom they, form a relationship,
Yeah,
like an
form attachment.
attachment. Like they
Yeah,
just need that person. If the person is not available to them for, for genuine reasons or for some time, for some days also, probably that anxiety comes in their mind.
right.
Okay, thank you so
Also,
much.
also, Priyanka, one thing we wouldn't like you to encourage, like this is right now, what we're doing is very generalized idea of what research has shown. Don't try to label yourself as much as possible, because then you will try to put yourself into categories. With if you go into therapy and the therapist has this particular attachment style ka, questionnaire done with you, and then it's something that you both explore, then
Coming.
that's something else. Yeah, but try not doing it for yourself. Try not labeling yourself by saying I am insecure or um, ambivalent, because it might be different. It might be something that's totally different. Okay. um
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka. um Someone asked something, I think.
I
Can
think.
one have different
I
attachments in
think.
different?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Anushka.
Poonam Nath. And there is one more question with Priyanka. Okay. Can one have different attachment styles in different relationships? Yes, you can. So that's what we wanted to talk about, right? That's what I was telling to Priyanka was also the same. Um, Different attachment styles can play different roles in your life. If you had bad friendships, now your friendships can be dictated because of those experiences. But if you had a very stable, loving relationship, then your relationship, in romantic relationships, won't be affected in the longer run. You will be secure attached in your romantic relationships, but might be avoidant attached in your socially social friend circle. So it could be different. It can be different. Sometimes, generally, one of them, when you do, someday if you do take up the attachment style questionnaire and you try to do it, most of the people will have one dominant, but the others are also there. It's not like none of them exist for you. They also play a very huge role as in how you shape relationships. So they also play a big role. Who would be more vulnerable, ambivalent or avoidant? We did talk about it, I think, Priyanka. Ambivalent will be
I think
more.
you already answered that, Anushka.
And lastly, we have disorganized attachment characteristics. So basically, they show a lack of clear attachment behavior. So the actions, responses to caregivers are often a mix of behaviors. Okay, it includes avoidance. It also includes resistance. So either it'll be avoidance or it'll be resistance. Okay, and these children are also described as having a dazed behavior. Sometimes they're very confused, apprehensive at the presence of the caregiver. So they show a mixture of avoidant and resistant behavior, very confused, apprehensive, what is happening, and why is it there? And
Yeah, and it's also, I think, mainly because in the early childhood, the parents were not able to address any kind of a distress or turmoils that the child was going through. So I think which leads to that the fact that they were not feeling very secured or accepted or having a space or safe space in the home. So which, as Anushka mentioned, is leading to some very core features of avoidant
yeah,
insecure attachment
basically,
style.
basically, there's this what Solomon and Main said. The people who, the psychologists who gave this attachment style, they argued that the parents might be a very big contributing factor in this kind of attachment style. So there was another researchers, Main and Hesse. They basically argued that as a figure, as a parent, as a figure, when they had these two roles, they were also showing fear and they were also showing reassurance to the child. It contributed to disorganized attachment style, because the child will feel comforted and frightened by the parent both, and then there is a confusion. Should I look for assurance, reassurance, or are they more scary?
Yeah,
What is
yeah,
it that they are? Then it becomes really confusing for the child. So, and they on as an adult, or even from a very small young age of 6, they can go on to become and take on the parental role. If they are the elder sibling, they will try to take a parental role, and some children may act as a caregiver towards the parent.
to the brother, yeah, to the siblings.
Yeah,
Like
choose
acting
a
like the
parent
mother
first,
or the
you know.
father. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if, for example, if the child has seen, that the father is also very scary, and but he's also very supportive, so the child is really confused of what is happening. So they try and take a parental role because they're so confused. They will see how the parents behave, and they will try to take that role. So yeah. Kosha, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, I think Kaushal is.
Ma'am, we have a concept of blindfold parenting in the field of psychology, and
Mm-hmm.
there is a research done in the field which says that many of issues like schizophrenia is caused because of blindfold parenting, where parents are not very clear with the approach which is applied to rearing children. It's a concept. So, ma'am, would you say that that would also come under disorganized?
Disorganized, blindfold parenting. So here
Yeah.
there are too many things happening. So there are too
Okay.
many roles that the parent is taking, and that's why the children is becoming this disorganized and having this confused understanding of um, what what should I look up to the parent for? Should I fear him? Should I, should I support him? That's a little different part, but I'm not sure what blindfold parenting is, Kosha. First of all, I'll have to look into it. I'm not very aware of that. So
Okay.
maybe in the next session tomorrow,
Yeah. Sure,
we
ma'am.
can discuss about it. You know, I'll read
Yeah.
up. We'll read up a little bit. Devjani, do you have an idea about this blindfold parenting? You're on mute.
Ma'am, is it possible that disorganized parenting can be like a environmental factor which induces psychosis in children? I mean, yeah, genetic factors do influence to a very great extent, genetics and environment.
I'm not very sure that whether it's gonna end in psychosis or not.
Okay.
But then, yeah, of course, I think the environmental factor that you're trying to tell me, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
it matters a lot in the development of the child. I think, his or her
Yeah.
association in the environment plays the major role. And especially what kind of a relationship is getting formed between the caregiver and the child during that stage. I think, yes, it is relatable, but leading to the psychosis is something that I am not aware of.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Like attachment styles can.
yeah, I mean, like,
So when we talk about psychosis, it goes on to become that heavy mental disorders like
yeah.
Yes. A
schizophrenia or
very
something.
extreme thing. Yeah.
I think, see, like the thing is,
Yeah.
like people carrying a disorganized, insecure attachment style. I don't think that
Yeah.
everybody, or there are
Everyone. Yeah.
possibilities like trying or getting into or falling into
If there's
psychosis.
a lot of other predispositions
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
yeah.
their end,
Predispositions.
then it
Exactly.
can be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes a
So
person
Exactly.
is very strong, independent, and yet have a very,
Yeah.
disorganized, insecure
Thing.
style.
Yeah.
But not everybody is into some kind of mental health
Yeah.
disorder, like acute in the acute form. I'm trying to tell
Yes.
you.
Yes.
So yeah,
So
I
yeah.
technically don't feel so, but then of course I have to read it. I can't comment
Yeah.
on it. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Even I'm not generalizing it.
No, no, no.
Honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
Understandable.
right,
Yeah,
ma'am. Yeah. No
yeah,
problem.
also, if you do know about the diathesis stress model, of course, the
Yeah.
predispositions can be something that push a person to become predisposed to certain disorders. So
Yes.
it could be a factor which
might lead
Might
to.
yeah,
lead to. So
it
suppose
might
we have
lead.
10 factors. This could be one of them.
Yeah. So in
Yeah,
the
this can
diathesis
be.
stress model,
One of.
if you look diathesis stress model for disorders
Yeah.
and abnormal psychology of mental disorders, um, that basically talks about people are predisposed to certain disorders, but with one push or three, four pushes of different factors, they go on to become. So they might be depressed, but then it becomes a depression disorder only when there was a maybe a traumatic event that played a part in
Yeah.
their role, or something like that. A kind of intervention that comes and pushes them to the extent where it becomes a disorder.
Understand. Yes.
So does
Okay,
that
ma'am.
answer you
Yeah.
somehow?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kosha. So that basically brings us to the end of the session today. Uh, Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
We
guys,
took a
thank
little
you.
time, extra time, but we had a good interaction. That's what we aimed for. Thank you so much for the interaction.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Yes, you can watch this recording on in the YouTube channel, Swati. Um, if anybody has any questions,
Yeah, any
we are
questions or
here
if
for
you want to
in
share
5 minutes.
something?
We are here for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you may leave. And thank you so much for joining in, for taking in time.
I think Kausha wants to say something. Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Kausha, please.
Yeah, ma'am. So I just had a doubt. So, ma'am, are there any assessments available which help us to understand attachment styles? I mean, besides, the interviewing process or history taking process. Like,
Yes,
are there?
there are
There
there
are.
are questionnaires, but I wouldn't
Okay.
encourage you to take without
Being prescribed. Yeah.
professional help. Yeah, professional help. If you are in therapy, ask your therapist to help you find out, for your own self reflection.
Yeah, ma'am.
Um,
I'm asking about the therapist. So, like, for them, I mean, to use it on clients. So,
to use on clients.
No,
yeah,
what
in
is she
order to
trying to
assess.
ask is like, is there any availability of assessment tests, right?
Which are available to therapists so that they can assess the attachment style in
Yeah,
clients.
yeah, yeah. There are
There are a lot.
like we do administer it in our therapy sessions and like with our clients. So also, if you would like to know such tests and things, we are coming up with this new 30 minute sessions for counselors in the coming March
Okay.
or maybe in some months. I'm not guaranteeing it right now, but basically, um, it might happen soon, where we are introducing some techniques which are open to counselors and therapists and psychologists. We were talking about these things that you can administer in the therapy session. So maybe we can also talk about how to administer attachment questionnaires, something like that.
All right, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you, Kosha. Thank you everyone for joining in.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much.
We had a great time
Yes.
interacting with you all.
Yeah. I think, Anushka, there's a question for you by Mariam. Can you just check that once because it's stress management
Yeah,
course.
it's a training program.
Thank you, Prerna. Yeah. Say,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So basically, just a minute. I have this. I think there's a lot of static noise. Give me a minute, Mariam. Are you still there?
Yeah, Mariam, are you still there here with us? Yes, yes, she's here.
Am I audible though?
Yeah, yeah, you're audible.
I don't know why I'm having this lot of static.
I really couldn't send it this time. But, okay, I guess what's been asked here, like he was with you in the stress management course,
Right.
and due to
Okay.
some network issue, the assignment was not sent. Though I think some assignment was given, so is the person still eligible for getting the certificate?
Did you not get a mail, Mariam, regarding the stress management thing? If you can maybe unmute and speak.
Yeah, yeah. Mariam, can you unmute and speak?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello.
I'm not just very good in speaking English. That's why I
That's
prefer
fine.
writing.
Okay, okay, okay. So it's okay. You can go ahead and write it in the chat box if that's something you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I had some network issue and I couldn't send you my assignment. Can I still send
Okay.
it to you and get a certificate? Thank you.
Okay.
Hi,
So,
Maya. So you can drop me a text. I will put down my number in the chat box and I will get back to you regarding this.
yeah, we'll talk with the team and we'll send it across to you. You can also write your contact information in the chat box, Mariam, and the team will contact you.
Yeah, I think Mariam ma'am has shared a number, so yeah, you can
Yeah.
just contact her.
So, Mariam, you can contact Ragini, and she's given her number. Contact her regarding it, and we'll see what we can do. Okay. Ragini, what can she contact you on? WhatsApp, call?
So, ma'am, I'm available both on text and phone calls. Whenever you're free, just drop me a text or call. I'll be available. Okay.
Does that help, Mariam?
You mean
Contact
send
there is a number shared.
on WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you, guys, for coming and
Thank
joining.
you, guys. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ragini, can you stop the recording? I think we can stop the recording now.
Yeah.